The starship Eclipse drifted silently through the void, its sleek, silver hull reflecting the faint light of a distant sun. On board, Commander Zara Veylan stood in the observation deck, her sharp, violet eye scanning the endless expanse of space. Her people, the Kylari, had long since mastered interstellar travel, their civilization spanning galaxies. Yet, despite their advancements, Zara harbored a deep disdain for one species, humans. To her, humans were reckless, impulsive, and destructive. They had barely ventured beyond their own solar system, yet they acted as if the universe belonged to them. Their history was riddled with war, environmental devastation, and a blatant disregard for the consequences of their actions. Zara had seen the aftermath of human colonies, polluted worlds, stripped of resources, left barren and lifeless. She hated them. So, when the Eclipse received a distress signal from a small, derelict human vessel, Zara was less than thrilled. "Commander," her second-in-command, Lieutenant Kale, said, his voice calm but insistent. "The signal is weak, but it's definitely human. Should we respond?" Zara's lips curled into a frown. "We have no obligation to assist them. Let them face the consequences of their incompetence." Kale hesitated. "With all due respect, Commander, the Interstellar Accord mandates that we offer aid to any vessel in distress, regardless of species." Zara shot him a glare but knew he was right. The accord was clear, and the Kylari prided themselves on their adherence to galactic law. Reluctantly, she nodded. "Fine. Bring them aboard. But keep them contained. I don't want them wandering the ship." The human vessel was a sorry sight, a battered cargo ship, its hull scorched and pockmarked from micrometeoroid impacts. The Eclipse's tractor beams pulled it into the hangar bay, and Zara watched with thinly veiled disgust as the boarding party extracted the lone survivor. He was a man, tall and lean, with tousled brown hair and a scruffy beard. His flight suit was torn, and he had a nasty gash on his forehead, but he was alive. As the medics tended to his wounds, Zara approached, her arms crossed. "Name," she demanded, her tone icy. The man looked up, his green eyes meeting hers. "Ethan," he said, his voice hoarse but steady. "Ethan Cross. Thanks for picking me up." Zara ignored his gratitude. "What happened to your ship?" Ethan sighed, wincing as a medic applied a disinfectant to his wound. "Engine failure. We were on a supply run to one of the outer colonies when the reactor overheated. I barely managed to send out a distress signal before the whole thing went dark." Zara's eyes narrowed. Typical human carelessness. "You're lucky we found you." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. Instead, he looked around the hangar, his gaze lingering on the sleek, advanced technology of the Eclipse. "This is some ship you've got here. Kylari, right?" Zara didn't respond. She turned to Kale. "Take him to the holding cell. Once we reach the nearest human outpost, we'll drop him off." Over the next few days, Ethan remained confined to his cell, but Zara couldn't help noticing how he interacted with the crew. Despite being a prisoner, he was polite and respectful, always thanking the guards who brought him food and striking up conversations with anyone who would listen. He seemed genuinely curious about the Kylari, asking questions about their culture, history, and technology. Zara found it infuriating. "Why do you tolerate him?" she snapped at Kale one evening. "He's a human. He doesn't belong here." Kale raised an eyebrow. "He's just trying to make the best of a bad situation. And he's not as bad as you think, Commander. He's different." Zara scoffed. "They're all the same." But as the days passed, Zara began to notice things about Ethan that didn't align with her preconceptions. He was resourceful, using scraps of wire and discarded components to repair a malfunctioning replicator in his cell. He was compassionate, offering to help the medics when one of the crew members fell ill. And he was brave, volunteering to assist when the Eclipse encountered a dangerous ion storm. During the storm, the ship's systems were thrown into chaos. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to stabilize the engines. In the midst of the chaos, Ethan managed to bypass a damaged control panel, restoring power to the shields and preventing a catastrophic breach. Zara found herself reluctantly impressed. After the storm, Zara decided to speak with Ethan directly. She found him in the mess hall, sipping a cup of something that smelled suspiciously like coffee. "You saved the ship," she said, her tone less hostile than usual. Ethan looked up and shrugged. "Just doing my part. You guys saved me, after all." Zara hesitated, then sat down across from him. "Why did you do it? You could have stayed in your cell and let us handle it." Ethan smiled faintly. "Because it was the right thing to do. And because, well, I guess I wanted to prove that not all humans are as bad as you think." Zara frowned. "I've seen what your kind is capable of. The destruction, the waste." Ethan's expression grew serious. "I won't deny that we've made mistakes. But we're trying to do better. Not all of us are the same, just like not all Kylari are the same." Zara was silent for a long moment. She wanted to argue, to cling to her hatred, but something about Ethan's words struck a chord. As the Eclipse neared the human outpost, Zara found herself spending more time with Ethan. They talked about everything: politics, philosophy, their respective cultures. She learned that he had lost his family in a colony uprising, yet he still believed in the potential for peace. He, in turn, listened to her stories of Kylari history and traditions, showing a genuine interest that surprised her. The night before they reached the outpost, Zara found herself standing on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Ethan joined her, his presence strangely comforting. "I guess this is goodbye," he said softly. Zara nodded, though the thought filled her with an unexpected sadness. "You'll be safe at the outpost. They'll take care of you." Ethan hesitated, then turned to face her. "Zara, I know you don't think much of humans. But I want you to know that meeting you has changed the way I see the Kylari. You're not just some cold, distant species. You're amazing." Zara's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to say something, to push him away, but instead, she found herself stepping closer. And then, without thinking, she kissed him. It was brief, but it was enough. When they pulled apart, Ethan looked stunned, but a slow smile spread across his face. "Guess I was wrong about humans," Zara whispered. Ethan chuckled. "And I was wrong about the Kylari." The next day, Ethan left the Eclipse, but Zara knew it wasn't the end. As she watched his shuttle disappear into the distance, she felt a strange sense of hope. Perhaps, she thought, there was more to humans than she had believed. And perhaps, just perhaps, there was more to her as well.